Um, Welcome. I'm going to make a little video about Queen Mab today, and not just Queen Mab actually. So let me begin by introducing myself. You may know me already, but my name's Dominic. Um, I've worked with Orosoma for many, many years. I don't work with Orosoma anymore officially, but however, I continue to love the system, and I've developed like more, um, what can I say, my own courses, which take people more on journeys, processes supported by color. And at the same time, I've always been very deeply respectful of the Orosoma equilibrium sequence. I think the equilibrium sequence of colors has a message within it. And when we go beyond our own wish to choose colors as a reflection of what's important for us, like to recognize ourselves, then there's a bigger picture behind that, which is the whole sequence of colors in order have a story to tell. And particularly up to bottle 99, that's a story that's very connected to numbers and numerology. It's not that the numbers don't continue after they do, um, but up to 99, it's a very interesting relationship between the color combinations and the number meaning, and they really work together really well. After about bottle 90, after bottle 100, I think that and as you get into the triple digits, then what happens is that the equilibrium sequence is something that's more then connected into the collective and into the unfolding sequence and into a synchronicity with what's happening on the planet. So I think the later bottles from 100 onwards are we can learn about them very much by seeing what's happening in the world as a whole at the time of the bottle's birth and during that time of that bottle, and also especially when that bottle finishes too, just before the next bottle is born. So I also use that as a way of learning about the bottles, and I've got many personal stories about those later bottles. And seeing and learning about the bottles by seeing what's happening in the world. Just one example, for example, the Twin Towers. Um, Bottle 102, which was born 2 weeks exactly after 9/11, got a plane in the sky above me now. Um, 2 weeks after 9/11, the attack on the Twin Towers, um, Bottle 102 was born. Something of the shadow appearing in the top fraction. So you could say that in the world at large, that image of destruction was played again and again, and it's like it shows a shadow, like something destructive in the world, and in a way, stimulating terror. The war on terror began back then in 2001. But what was most striking was that a few years later, a book came out about the 9/11 experience, and the name of that book was 102 Minutes. It was 102 minutes from the first tower being struck to the second tower falling down. So that's a really interesting synchronicity for me between the number of the bottle, which was born, is connected to the Twin Towers, and that actually that length of that number being deeply embedded in that event through the number of minutes between the first tower being hit and the second tower falling down. Another great example of synchronicity was the movie Avatar, which was the first I think it was the first three-dimensional movie. I forget now. There was something special about that movie, but it was a worldwide release and it had been delayed two times, and it finally came out December the 16th, I think, 2000 and something. But whatever it was just the first Friday after the bottle 107 was born, Zafkiel. Zafkiel is this sparkly turquoise over deep magenta, which has a theme as well. And the theme is something about incarnating. The film Avatar is about incarnating. In fact, the word avatar, which you now meet in computer circles, is to do with having your representation in a computer game. And in the movie Avatar, this human consciousness is incarnated into a body that's suited to that planet. Complicated story, but it really fits with the bottle itself. So it was really, and the colors of the bottle are the colors of these beings that live on this planet. So that's another really interesting synchronicity. Not just the color, although the color was kind of around the world that week because of the release of that film, but also because of the meaning of the bottle and the theme of the film. So that's just two examples of synchronicity, and there are many others as well. And that's something I'm very interested in. Before 99, it's a lot about It's a lot about the numbers and the colours. And then, actually, since bottle 94, what we had is another sequence called the Archangel Sequence in Orosoma. It began with Archangel Michael, and it continued all the way through to Orange Red, bottle 115, born or created in late 2017, which was the last Archangel bottle, Archangel Kemael and Ariel. First time you had two Archangels in one bottle. And they have a story, and I've been exploring that story over this last year in a series of online courses. Um, eight, eight archangels at a time, 8 bottles at a time. Each course was 8 weeks, and we looked at one archangel a week. And I found the story there, the story of the soul's incarnation into this world. Incarnating into this world, the first course, finding our feet in this world and learning to reorient ourselves towards heaven. Second course, Rainbow Warrior, that's called. First course was the Gateway to Life. And then the third course is called Return of the Light. That's a helicopter. And that's like when we open to spirit, then we can live a spiritual life on earth. And that's the last course, the last of those courses. There's another course in the middle of that, which I'll talk about another time. So what really interests me is I don't work with Orosoma officially. I love Orosoma as a system. I think the equilibrium sequence is a great teacher. I think there's a communication in the color sequence. I find it very connected to number in the beginning. I find it connected to the collective unfolding of consciousness on the planet from bottle 100 onwards, very tuned into that specifically. There are stories in there. There's a big story, but there are stories, cycles of stories in there. One of them is the Archangel Sequence story with those 3 key stages. And what happened since bottle 116, after the last Archangel bottle was born, is we've had some further bottles created, which began with Queen Mab. Queen Mab, you know how to spell Queen. No, I'm doing that. I have cards for the bottles, but not for the later ones. So I've made my own one. The funny thing is, I came out here earlier because I want to make a video about Ceres and Persephone, the latest bottle in Orosoma. This is Persephone here. I'll do that video later. Clear orange. But this card somehow fell down by this bush here. I don't know why, because I don't think I even walked past it. So I thought I'd better make a video here. And what I wanted to talk about was just the bottles from Queen Mab on. So a long introduction to get to the point of this video. Queen Mab it's very interesting because after the Archangel, something new begins. And it starts with a female figure, Queen Mab, the Queen of the Fairies. I think it's the beginning of opening the door to something new. And I think it's opening the door to the female energies, to Mother Earth, to the goddess. And I think that's where it's going. And since Queen Mab was born, I've been working on developing a course about the goddesses and meeting things that may be more aligned in that direction. And I would say the archangels before are more about light and consciousness of spirit. And I'd say that Queen Mab onwards is something more about the consciousness of the earth. But that's more to be developed in the future. But Queen Mab fell down, and I thought, oh, well, I'm wearing royal blue, and I've got a magenta bush behind me, so I should say something about it. Queen Mab led to Pan, and Pan led to Echo. And those 3 are part of the last of my courses, Return of the Light. Now, and then we have Ceres and Persephone, the last 2 bottles in Orosoma. Ceres, now she's not the earth. In a way, you'd say Gaia is like the being of the earth as a planet. Ceres is the goddess of agriculture, of the harvest, of the growing of things. Our relationship to the growing things of the earth, especially the plants and the crops. You see, so Ceres is that, and then Persephone is her daughter. And I've come to a very interesting idea about Ceres and Persephone. But I think what I want to say to you just now is that they fit very much in this theme of the goddess, which began with Queen Mab. And the way Queen Mab is something more in the atmosphere, Pan and Echo kind of bring that closer to the earth into the human experience. And then Ceres and Persephone, I think, if I was talking in tree of life terms, I'd say we're in Malkuth, the material world, the physicality of the earth herself. And that Ceres is the principle of agriculture and things growing. She's the truth of, she represents in a way that truth of each year there's a cycle of birth and growth and letting go and returning to the earth. So plants, seed sprouts beginning in springtime, growing in the summer, harvested in the autumn, and then a quiet time through the winter before the next growing sequence. That principle of life that's repeated year after year after year, obviously different around the equator, but that principle of the fertility and the abundance of the earth. And then Persephone, her daughter, I see as the representation of an individual cycle of one cycle of growth. So from one spring to one autumn, or whatever length of time you would choose to find a cycle. So I see Persephone as the expression of Ceres. The mother is always like the principle deep in the earth, around the earth, and Persephone is her daughter who each year expresses the next cycle of growth and harvest. Okay, that's kind of what I wanted to say. I think that what I want to summarize, I would say that Orosome is a sequence. It has a teaching in it. It's a teaching of color connected to number. It's a teaching that over time, as those foundations of, in a way, you have to make before you can talk about sophisticated things, you have to make a language. In a way, the language grows to talk about more sophisticated things, but you need the building blocks of language. I think the bottles from 0 to 9, from 10 to 99 are the development of that language. And when we get to bottle 100 onwards, of course, they speak about important things too. But when you get to bottle 100 onwards, you've got enough language to now begin for that message to become more complex and more in relationship to life itself. I think in the beginning, there had to be a rush to get all that language out there so that then we could go on to, it could become like a living communication connected to how we're evolving. And that's the thing that's always interested me over the years, and what I've really worked to understand more for myself. And I understand that especially through sharing with other people. So I don't offer official Orosoma courses anymore, don't pretend to. These are my ideas, and I'm more interested in a way in processes these days. I like to help people to have an experience, not just to gain knowledge, but to have an experience, where it becomes more of something that nourishes you, nourishes your life, your feelings, your spirit, your understanding, your health and happiness. So, and your mission, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to stop this one now. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to make more videos on Ceres and Persephone and my courses now. Thank you very much.